Season 1 of Life is Strange was my favourite game of 2015. Blending fantasy elements with a thrilling mystery and even horror, Don't Nod Entertainment told the compelling story of dual protagonists Max and Chloe as the two rekindled their childhood friendship, solved the mystery of Rachel Amber's disappearance, and were ultimately faced with one of the most heart-wrenching and emotional choices in recent memory. Before the Storm is a prequel to that game, which features everyone's favourite badass, Chloe, as the point-of-view protagonist in what might very well be one of the darkest times in her life, excepting the week in which Season 1 takes place, of course. Having lost both her best friend and father, Max moved to Seattle while William tragically died in a crash, our 16-year-old Chloe is as vulnerable as you can get. Chloe's relationship with her mum is on the rocks because of Joyce's new militaristic boyfriend, a familiar stepped douche to any of you Life is Strange veterans, as well as because of her plummeting high school grades and general ability not to give a shit about anything worth anything. Chloe not caring enough is a motive revisited time and time again, in fact, as it's evident that she used to be quite a nerd, extremely smart as well as a skateboarder. She comments both in her journal and when inspecting different items or during conversation throughout the game how difficult it is to actually care, as it were. She cares about two things though, loud punk rock and weed. And so starts our adventure, in an abandoned mill which hosts a rave party. A party where Chloe chooses whether to steal a t-shirt and or a couple of $100 to buy weed or not, and many other important life choices, like punching a guy in the nuts. After spilling a douchebag's beer, Chloe ends up in a tight spot when suddenly help comes from one person young Miss Price wouldn't have expected to meet in a firework concert: high school sweetheart and drama actress extraordinaire Rachel Amber. So begins a friendship that radically changes the lives of both these girls. Put your seatbelts on. What follows is an emotional journey that might just leave you hollow on the other side. Before I go on a grand spoiler-filled retelling of the major points of the story, tinged with my opinion and unadulterated tears, let's take a few minutes to talk about gameplay. Life is Strange is a narrative experience, a mixture of what many call a walking simulator and a fairly light point and click with very simple puzzle solving, which never gets in the way of the narrative. It's an episodic game that came out over the last 4-5 months between August and December 2017. Each episode takes between 2 and 3 hours, depending on whether you're looking to draw graffiti on every hidden or mildly hidden location. Those are cute, by the way, and you always have the choice between two different pieces of graffiti, so there's even some replayability in that. Most of the exploration can be described as: you see an item or person, and you click inspect/talk/poke, and something happens. Sometimes the something is funny, sometimes it's puzzling, and every once in a while it's even mildly scary. Okay, well, maybe not that last one, but it's certainly interesting. Where Max, Season 1's protagonist, had the unique ability to rewind time and so change the choices she just made, Chloe has no such ability. That gives the choices you make somewhat more weight, forces you to consider more carefully on account of being unable to press the right mouse button whenever you feel like you've made the wrong choice, and consequence is even more immediate in a game series that prides itself in consequence-heavy decision making. What Chloe does have is an uncanny ability to belittle people with words, forcing them to do something akin to what she wants, which is no small feat by any means. It's a fun mechanic, forcing you to use people's words against them, while heavily pressed for time. Sometimes a single mistake is enough to really screw you over, and that's pretty exhilarating. This ability, aptly named Backtalk, is sadly underutilized. Unlike the time travel in Season 1, Backtalk is seen twice, 3 times an episode. I would have legitimately enjoyed a great deal more of Chloe battering at random people with that sharp wit of hers, a missed opportunity if there ever was one. You move with WASD, and that's about all there is to the way the game works. From here on out, I will be talking about the story of Before the Storm. Spoilers.
I can crap bigger than you, got it?
Oh, that's what I smell. A giant load of crap.
Having come out on the 31st of August, this felt like a belated birthday present for me. Awake does a great job of introducing us to 16-year-old Chloe, a rebel who hasn't yet stepped on her feet as firmly as we know her to eventually. This episode does a great job of introducing us to 16-year-old Chloe, a rebel who hasn't yet stepped on her feet firmly enough. After ruffling a few feathers too many, our daring heroine finds herself aided by Rachel Adams. The two spend an amazing night filled with more fun than Chloe has had since Max left and her father died. It's the kind of night you never want to end. Of course, Rachel's own interest is caught by a badass, no-shits-given attitude, especially after witnessing Chloe hit an a-hole in the head with a beer bottle, take a punch in stride, and go on to party for the rest of the night. Hitting the a-hole in the head with a beer bottle, by the way, is the player's choice entirely. If you, unlike me, were uncomfortable with punching or, hitting, as I did on my second playthrough, a 2-cent tug, you could have chosen to run away instead. That way, perhaps you'd have avoided a black eye the morning after. Your choices will, of course, change the way characters see and interact with you, as they should. Back to the main plotline, Chloe and Rachel reunite in school and you get a first-hand witness to the amazing man in charge of Blackwell's drama department, Travis Keaton, the unsung protagonist of the game.
No, don't apologize to me. Apologize to your scene partner who's been very accommodating, and to your other fellow actors, and most of all, to yourself.
Mr. Keaton, sorry to interrupt, but does this look better? I had my mom take it in.
He directs the school play The Tempest, in which Rachel is cast as the lead. No surprises there. After this rather amusing look at the drama department, it's time for Chloe and Rachel to ditch school. And the idea isn't that of Chloe, with her badass reputation, but Rachel's.
It's nice Rachel we're having.
It's a small but meaningful moment, because it shows that Miss Amber, a straight A student, known for her serious attitude towards basically everything, is very much willing to play hooky just to get to know this girl, with whom she had so much fun. It's a familiar story, but a very powerful one nonetheless. Two members of very different spectrums of society, both with a sizable hole in their lives, find and are attracted to one another to such an extent that everything else takes a backseat. The girls take a train, play two truths and a lie to pass the time, get a flirty rapport going and have a general blast until, while spying on people and making lame jokes about them.
Is she smelling me right now too? Really should have showered this morning.
And the Lord saideth, Thou shalt make a burnt offering of your firstborn son.
Who are you talking to, Dad?
No one, son. Now, lean into the grill and see if the fire started. Further. Further.
Rachel sees a middle-aged man kiss a beautiful blonde. A sudden change in her mood shows a harder side to Rachel's character. After stealing a bottle of wine, drinking some and walking into a scrapyard, Chloe calls out Rachel for her behavioral changes. It doesn't end well.
I know you're the school princess and all, with the DA daddy and the perfect grades and all the perfect little Victoria chases kissing your perfect ass, but seriously, fuck you.
Great. I'm leaving. See you around, Chloe.
You can't leave!
What follows is a raw, emotional scene which sees Chloe basically come undone by her rage and feeling of impotence until, after smashing a number of different items with a bat in the junkyard, she comes face to face with the strongest symbol of a never-ending nightmare.
You know she's fake. You can't take your eyes off her. Who else do I know who fits that description? Ah! Fuck off, Rachel. Dad.
Her dad's car virtually turned into scrap in the crash that claimed his life. It is such a powerful, cathartic moment for Chloe, showing just how vulnerable, how angry our heroine is. Cut to a dreamlike sequence, country music and William driving the car. There's a graffiti to draw, several items to inspect and a conversation between daughter and ghostly father to be had. It's one of these signature Arcadia Bay moments, a Twin Peaks-ish level of strange as Chloe and William discuss Rachel while Miss Amber is outside the car, burning. Did anyone order a pint of strong imagery with a scary amount of foreshadowing? I did!
Rachel.
After waking up, Chloe eventually goes back to the pier, where Rachel's sudden change in attitude happened, and Miss Amber finally fesses up about the fact that the middle-aged man she saw kiss that woman was none other than her dad. Yeah, if you figured it out, so did everyone else, but Chloe.
That was my dad.
Oh. Alright.
And that woman was definitely not my mom.
Oh.
In her anger, Rachel burns a picture in a waste bin, a picture of her dad and herself as a little girl, and just to reinforce her point, kicks the waste bin down, setting a wildfire. Talk about hot temper! Ha ha! This episode came 2 days after my birthday, as I mentioned. It really felt like a great gift to be able to revisit a place that, although not physically real, means very much to me. In addition, it had one of my favourite optional scenes, a 15-20 minute D&D game with new characters, Steph and Mickey. It was a thoroughly enjoyable scene, especially since it came after meeting familiar faces like Principal Wells and Victoria Chase, who, let's face it, not the best people to hang around with. I mean, I picked fights with both of them, and I don't regret that even one little bit.
King guy. Want to become my meat puppet? How it works is I shove my arm up your ass into your head, and then I can control your mouth from the inside to say things.
He doesn't seem to like that idea.
Neither do I.
Remember that time Chloe and Rachel decided to ditch school in order to start a wildfire? No, you know, just yesterday. Well, there's hell to pay in Principal Wells' office first thing in the morning. Things get heated, Rachel tries to take the blame for ditching the school, and of course, it's your choice whether to let her or not. The choice will either see you suspended or entirely expelled from school. My choice. Take all the heat, get into the nastiest yelling match with Wells, and end it all in a fiery hey! There's a wildfire about to burn the town down, that's insensitive. I was always such a nasty joke here. Anyway, Rachel and Chloe agree to meet in the scrapyard after Rachel finishes school. And, oh joy, one of the secondary plotlines reasserts itself in an unpleasant three-way conversation between Chloe, Joyce and David. The latter of whom forces you to empty your pockets right after opening a new page. Yeah, right. Great way to start fresh, step douche. Early on, in episode 1, there's an opportunity to buy weed from Frank, which I didn't take. So I didn't really mind step douche taking a look. Still, it was a crass disturbance of my privacy, and I didn't appreciate it one bit. Chloe is formidably less patient than I am, so she walks away saying that she will not be back home. Knowing that David would move in made that choice that much easier. What follows is fun, going through the Arcadia-based scrapyard for parts in order to, drumroll please, build her trademark Chloe-mobile. It's a sequence unlike any other. Chloe pilfers cars, steals long-forgotten bubbleheads, and helps herself to towels of worrisome origins to say the least. Then she falls asleep, and another one of those worrisome, creepy, psychotic almost dreams comes upon her. Oh joy. Haven't had my dose of creepy Arcadia-based shite for some time now.
Amazing, isn't it? I can't look away.
Sure.
Don't pretend you're not mesmerized too. See? You're so drawn to it, you don't even realize the danger.
Danger?
Fire blinds us, just like darkness. But darkness blinds with absence, with loss.
What does fire blind with?
Beauty. But sometimes, there's a greater beauty yet to come.
Incredible.
Fire is jealous, Chloe. It wants all the beauty for itself. That's why you need to be careful.
Careful of what?
Of getting burned.
My favourite scenes in the episode have all to do with Rachel, as does the scene I have an enormous problem with. First of all, Rachel shows up with a duffel bag full of clothes, and we have a nice therapeutic session. It's a good conversation between friends. Rachel listening to and giving Chloe advice on the situation with Joyce and David, and on their own relationship. Here we finally get the origins of that wonderful nickname for David, Step Douche. But there's more.
Mean you don't fight back. You're going to need a new nickname to mark your enemy. What have you got?
He's, step douche. Because he's inserting himself where he doesn't belong. Also, he's a douche.
Another secondary plot pops up. Chloe hangs out with her weed dealer Frank and ends up doing him a favour for the $200 or so that she owes him. It's a nasty business since it involves Mickey, the D&D kid's older brother. During this business, which involves one of the more difficult choices in the game, Chloe officially comes face to face with Damon Marek, the nastiest criminal element in town. It's a strong sequence, but it mostly shies away from the mystery about the woman with the white dress, and with Rachel not taking part in that particular storyline, it's maybe more forgettable than it ought to be. You see, most of the scenes between Rachel and Chloe are very strong one way or another, because they are the two elements of the game that create the greatest
To collect.
amount of friction. The high point of the episode is the performance of the Tempest. One thing or another forces Chloe into the play, in a particularly funny episode where you, the player, would expect to be given a choice. A very snappy cut puts you straight on the stage.
Have you ever acted before?
Hell no.
She's being modest. We play improv games all the time. And she's fantastic at it.
My dear, what if I told you that the entire fate of the production rests upon your slender shoulders?
I'd say you're super fucked.
Chloe, please. For me. Damn it.
Before that moment, however, is the most problematic scene in the whole damn game. It is done in such a low-key way that I didn't even notice it at first. Disclaimer, there is actually a way to get through this scene without doing what I'm about to describe. But, and that's a big but, it's still a very, very strange scene. Let's go back to Life is Strange Season 1 for a moment. One of the very serious issues you as Max had to tackle with was the dragging of several girls. It was approached by Don't Not Entertainment very well, with a lot of care and respect. Why then does Before the Storm feel the need to turn this serious problem into something that feels like a joke half the time and pure malice the other? That Victoria, Chase, would try to drug Rachel out of spite, only for Rach to turn around and do the same to her, is played for laughs. Why? Just because the main characters do it this time around? Just because Victoria attempted to do it? That's not right, not one bit. I hadn't even noticed it, to be perfectly frank, until my friend pointed out how hypocritical and horrifying that scene was. Once my eyes were open to it, this seems like a jarring oversight. Unpleasant, to say the least. Anyway, on to something better. The Tempest performance is nothing short of adorable. Going totally off script, The Tempest is actually one of my favourite Shakespearean plays. And I'll admit, I giggled throughout that scene like a little schoolboy. Schoolboys giggle, right? No? That was just me?
My liberty.
Indeed.
Thy liberty? Nay, this most of all I will not grant.
That's not her line. Is it? What's going on?
But thou assured my freedom. Didn't thou?
I never said how dearly I hold thee. My habit's been to keep my soul well draped. Most loyal spirit, companion, and friend, is acting in my service not replete with excitement, amusement, and delight?
Of course, mistress. Most truly it is so.
Mr. Key, they're way off script. It's magical.
Then why, I pray you, wish you to be free?
Excitement's a mere counterfeit of bliss. These storms and these adventures, I prefer to know thou still cared for my plainest self.
I have thee in my grasp. I will not bend. I will not see thee flying forth alone. The envy would be more than I could bear.
So come with me. Is that not in thy power?
Spirit, take my hands. Most faithful friend, for but a little longer I beseech. Continue in thy service to my schemes, and when they are complete, I swear to thee, we shall fly beyond this isle. The corners of the world are mere prologue. I'll seek to make thy happiness so great that e'en the name of liberty's forgot. What sayest thou to my most hopeful wish? Yet, I am most pleased. Your duty done for now, so go forth hence with haste. I've work to do.
After the Tempest, a plan is hatched, only to be ruined by a disastrous dinner in the Amber household. Rachel loses her shit. You can choose to try and restrain her a bit, or basically egg her on, which is probably the more Chloe of the two options, but something in me stopped me from picking those particular choices. The cliffhanger.
Why can't you just tell me the fucking truth? Stop lying! Stop being a politician for 1 fucking minute!
Can't you just be my dad?
Rachel, that woman you saw, that wasn't my mistress. That was your mother.
This episode is perhaps the strongest in terms of narrative, since it deals almost exclusively with the fallout from episode 2's last few minutes, and indeed the mystery of Rachel Amber's biological mother is a compelling hook if resolved a bit too quickly. Take the conflict between Chloe on one side and Joyce and David on the other. It gets resolved with him apologizing and handing Chloe a picture of his very dear, very dead friend. It's your choice whether she accepts the gesture. It was a nice moment, even if it came out of left field.
Photo for a little while. Think about what I've said.
David looks so young.
While I realise it would have weakened the cliffhanger considerably, I think if Rachel and Chloe had made the discovery of the mysterious woman's role in Rachel's life in, say, the middle of episode 2, the flow of this third episode would work much better. As it is, the greatest critique it faces has to be how quickly all the secondary plots continue to be tied with a neat little bow tie. A short D&D game takes place, closing the story both of Elamon and Calamastia, as well as Mickey, his big brother, and Steph. Goodbye, best new supporting characters! Oh yeah! And all that happens in a hospital room. And Rachel got stabbed by Marek while looking for answers, and everything's going to shite. Forgot to mention that, didn't I? It happened like that. Chloe, hoping to be an amazing friend and badass spy, called Frank to ask about the mysterious woman/biomom, then fixed the truck so we can get to wherever the hell she is. We all know what happens when you get too curious. Your drug dealer shows up with his friend, who proceeds to threaten you and then stab Rachel through the arm. Ouch. Not entirely unexpected, however, when said friend is none other but psychopath Damien Marek. You'd think a 16-year-old would take the hint along with a few inches of blade in her arm, and you'd be wrong. No, first thing Rachel does when she awakes after holding on to her dad, despite him lying to her, for the entirety of her life, the first thing she does is ask you to find her mum. Never mind that she also asks you to basically break her home and go through her daddy dearest's office, read his DA files, and gods know what else in order to find the mystery woman. After all, how can Chloe refuse?
Would you do something for me?
Anything.
Sarah. Mom. It's so weird to say. I'm not even sure what she is, honestly. But I think I still want to meet her. I figured you would. I don't even know if she's still in Arcadia Bay. But if she is, will you find her, please? You really want this, don't you? I do, Chloe. I really do.
Cue the secret phone in the DA's home office and the big plot twist. Douchey Daddy Dearest is working with Marek to take care of Biomom. All things considered, damn, does this go off as a slap in the face. This is the guy who, just a little while ago, listened to Chloe with the greatest empathy and told her earnestly that what happened with Rachel wasn't her fault. He thanked her for saving his little girl. He asked that Chloe would help him in keeping Rachel away from all this. Now that conversation takes an entirely different meaning. Darker, more sinister and manipulative meaning at that. A few major crimes later, and huzzah! Elliot, creepy stalker extraordinaire, appears. Now, I don't think I've mentioned Elliot before, and I've got a really good reason for that. He's a bland discount Warren, from Season 1, who has none of Warren's positives and all of his supposed negatives. I say supposed because many people, well, not many, some people thought that Warren was a creepy stalker. Oh, and Warren also had this tiny but very important thing called character or personality, where Elliot only has the stalkery tendencies going for him. He showed up at the hospital and started asking Chloe questions. When she left, he followed her. There's another backtalk challenge here, and this one I sadly failed. Elliot then started getting pretty damn violent until a discount Oscar flew through the window.
You're going to assault me now? That's how far you'll go to protect Rachel? This is what I'm talking about.
No, you idiot.
What the fuck?
Better run, dickbag. Cops will be here any minute.
Now then, you've got a pile of money, you've burned some evidence, you know that effing Damien Marek has Rachel's mum tied up, and here comes the final bloody encounter with him. Before we head on to the mill, however, is one last sequence with William in Spirit World, before, during and after a near-death experience. This scene is all about choosing between comfortable lies and the cold hard truth, with Chloe facing the fact that the perfect relationship she had with her dad might not have been quite as perfect as she thought.
Don't ever lie to me. I don't mean telling me that ashtray I made for Mom wasn't a piece of crap. I mean, like, really lied about something that might hurt me to know.
What do you think? Are you really ready to hear the answer to your question?
Ready as I'll ever be.
Problem is, I'm dead. So how am I supposed to tell you anything?
At every child's life comes the point when, as much as we'd like to believe our parents are superheroes, we have to face the fact of their own mortality. They are, after all, only human. So what secrets did William keep from her? My Chloe asked. Back to facing more physical demons and saving Biomum. In a nice strike of circular storytelling, Chloe goes back to the mill in which this whole adventure began. A nice stroke, that. No matter what choice you make here, you'll get kicked around by Damien, who'll then inject Sarah with some drugs, thus forcing her year-long sobriety to an end. Frank, drug dealer extraordinaire, comes to the rescue, despite the fact that he's been stabbed, and saves Sarah and Chloe's collective skins in the process. Then finally, it's time to talk with Sarah.
Sarah. Rachel. Your daughter. Sarah?
Chloe Price.
You know who I am?
She wants Chloe to lie and make sure that Rachel doesn't end up losing the relationship with her dad. Knowing that he had her mum drugged, also he would keep her away from Sarah, would effectively kill him in Rachel's eyes. And it would kill her to lose her hero, her Superman. And it would kill her to lose her hero.
That's bullshit, Sarah.
You're not listening.
Rachel deserves to know what happened to you.
No, she doesn't. Rachel deserves a loving father. A father who cares for her.
James is a liar.
James is a desperate man who loves his daughter. And she loves him.
It's a compelling argument, the one Sarah presents, and it comes from a place of the purest parental love. It's that ultimate sacrifice the parent can do for a child, right? Sacrifice his or her own wishes, hopes, dreams, so that the child can prosper, so that the child can prosper, can be happy.
I can never be that for her.
And yet, when I returned to the hospital, faced with a more difficult choice than I thought it would be, I made it.
Hello?
Hi, Chloe. Rachel's just fallen asleep.
So, how did everything go? Rachel, I've got to tell you something.
I had to ask myself, what would I prefer? To live a comfortable lie, or hear the hard truth for what it is? And the truth is, I will always take the hard truth. And Chloe, I think Chloe is the exact kind of person who'd say the truth, no matter how devastating it can be, even to someone she loves, especially for someone she loves, with the exception of herself, perhaps. And we're done. Life is Strange offered a more intricate, lengthy adventure, before the song nonetheless manages to capture the emotional charge of the original. The undeniable strength of this game lies in the silent moments between our main leads, as well as with some of the supporting characters. Seeing Chloe grow from this nerdy teenager whose attempts at being a bad girl are nothing short of laughable at episode 1's beginning, to the hard-ass we Season 1 veterans know and love, is perhaps one of the greatest pleasures the game has to offer. Once again, the soundtrack is nothing short of impeccable, with Speedy Ortiz's No Below playing on repeat time and time again since I finished the game. It's funny, it's cute, and it's heart-wrenching, especially with a post-credits scene that is exceptionally, almost unforgivably cruel. I loved it. I loved it to death, and I hope you will too. With characters like these, it's difficult not to. P.S. Deck 9 Games recorded a song under a fictional group Pisshead's label, and it is everything you could ever hope from a band called Pisshead. I promise you. If you enjoyed this video, please like it, share it, subscribe. If you didn't, unlike it. But for God's sake, man, do something, or lady. Just be proactive in your viewership. Leave a comment, tell me how much I suck, or how little. I'm getting distracted, aren't I? Once again, thanks! Bye!